Hi, my name is Jim Passwaters. I work for Delmarva Poultry Industry as the Vegetative Environmental Buffers Coordinator. Today I'd like to give a little talk about monoculture versus polyculture. Mono, as everyone knows, means one, and in the VEB industry, we're talking about a single species. When we first started planting buffers around poultry farms, we planted generally one species of evergreen and one species of deciduous trees. Generally speaking, usually most of the evergreens are green giant arborvitaes. Originally, we started with leyland cypresses, and we had a single row of the same species tree, and that's a monoculture. There's some good things about monoculture, and part of it is that all the trees grow at the same speed, so it looks very much in tune. It's very formalized. It's straight lines, and it just looks a little bit cleaner and nicer than if you mix up a bunch of different trees. The deciduous side, we planted hybrid willows, maples, oaks, different things of that nature, but it was also a single species. So the good part about that is that, as I said, all the plants grow at the same speed. It's easy to lay out because you just draw a straight line and plant the trees at whatever spacing you're spacing them at. And for some people, it looks very organized. The bad part about that is that occasionally you may end up with a disease. When we started with the leyland cypresses, a fungal disease came into the roots, and you'll see trees, and you can still see them to this day around developments, around some older poultry farms that might be 30 to 40 feet tall. That got a disease in the root system. It starts off on one end and it spreads all the way down the line because it's a single species. And you end up with a very expensive to remove it, and then you no longer have a buffer there that you need. Also, at our last segment, that we talked about the bagworm issues, and if the bagworm's like a species such as the arborvitaes, and you have a whole line of arborvitaes, the bagworms are going to start on one end or in the middle or whichever, and they're going to spread because they like that tree, and there's no break to stop them. A polyculture, we've had a few farmers that have been more interested in the polyculture, which is various species intermixed. It looks more natural. You plant a mix of evergreens, a mix of deciduous. It's a little bit more difficult to lay out because the idea of the buffer is to have a solid wall of evergreens during the wintertime when the deciduous trees lose their leaves. But if it's planned properly, you can space it out so that even if there's deciduous in the same line as evergreens, you'll end up with a solid wall. They may not be adjacent to each other, but it will still prevent a solid wall. This is a more natural look. It's not for everybody, but we have done several of these farms recently. It's kind of more of a new recent type thing that we're experimenting with, and I kind of like it just because it's something new. We can add a bunch of different species in, so you don't have to really worry about having a disease come through and wiping it out. If it does wipe out some of the trees, some of the other trees will still remain there and be resistant to any of the disease issues. If you're not a member of DPI, you can go to dpichicken.org and sign up to be a member.